welcome. Today I have a recovery workout for you, specifically for after leg day. Hi, my name is Mariah. Welcome to Wealthy Boss. Every week I bring you a new workout video, barre, Pilates, yoga, sometimes the meditation as well. And today I have a specific recovery routine for reducing soreness in your legs, whether you just did leg day at the gym or if you did a really tough barre workout, which is what I do a lot of, that can leave you feeling pretty sore. We're just gonna be utilizing a towel. And if you're on the bendy side, you may not even need the towel, and a ball. Now, I'm using a trigger point therapy ball, but honestly, a tennis ball is one of my favorite tools to use. So you don't have to have anything fancy, you can just use a tennis ball. Now, let's get started with some trigger point work. I always like starting with trigger point. We're gonna get into the myofascia, start to release some of that dense fibrous tissue so that we can then open up and come into some flexibility. So we'll begin seated. I'm just going to turn to the side here. And the ball can be a nice thing to get into the quads if you don't have a foam roller. Otherwise, of course, if you have a foam roller, I do like it for calves and quads. Today we'll just be using it for our quads since we've got a few things we want to cover today. So hand comes on top of the ball. And we're just moving in little circular motions. We can even kind of lean forward a little bit to find a little bit more weight, get a little bit more leverage and pressure in. So just little tiny circles. And then obviously our quads are a lot bigger than the surface of this ball. So every now and then we're gonna pick that ball up and find a new little area. Just as much pressure as feels comfortable. Kind of exploring the whole area. So myofascial release work, which is kind of a fancy term for foam rolling or trigger point work, is a really important component of recovery. If we're only stretching, we may actually exacerbate some of the tightness in the tissue by not also incorporating the trigger point work. What happens is when we're overactive, as we are in an intense workout, we can tend to have those fibers kind of clump together through dehydration so that they don't move to and glide across each other as they're supposed to. So we apply pressure through compression tools like a tennis ball or foam roller. After we release that tool, we're bringing in fresh blood and circulation, which is going to help free up those tissues. So it's a really important component of recovery. I always want to advocate that you are stretching for your recovery as well as doing some of this trigger point work. Next, let's take it to the other side. And obviously a professional massage is always a good idea, but this is something you can do at home and without that hefty price tag. So exploring, you can even kind of explore the outside of the legs. Most of the research these days is saying that we don't really need to roll our IT bands directly onto a foam roller. So I prefer to stay on the safe side and just kind of get into the side of the leg with that ball a little bit, as opposed to putting so much pressure through a foam roller. Nice. Take a couple more moments here, finding what's sore, what's talking back to us. That way when we come to stretch the quads later, we'll be able to get a little more out of that stretch. Nice. Now we're gonna come into the glutes. So we're gonna attack the glutes from 3 different angles. This can be a little bit intense. If this does get to be too painful, we don't wanna cause bruising, you can also lean against a wall to do this. But we're gonna start with the Gluteus Minimus. So what we wanna do is we wanna find that spot. I'll show you from the side. We wanna find the spot on our hip. We're gonna be coming to lie down on our side. But we wanna look for the hip bone, or kind of feel the hip bone. We wanna go down about 1.5 inches down, and then about 1/2 inch back. So we're not directly on the hip bone. We're in that small muscle on the side of the seat. And typically you're just gonna find it, you're gonna know it when you find it. So we're gonna lie on our side. If possible, we're coming to lie on the arm. The bottom leg is long, and then that top foot is gonna reach over. Whew, this can be pretty intense, so I'm just gonna take some nice deep breaths. This is a pretty small muscle, so we're not really gonna incorporate any movement on this side. And you can adjust it just a little bit. If you're not sure you have the right spot, a little bit of an adjustment can go a long way. So Placement is pretty important for this location. Nice deep inhales and exhales. So freeing up the tissue around the glutes is also a good way to increase your hamstring flexibility. Again, if you're only stretching the hamstrings, you could actually be making it worse if you have knots or tightness around the piriformis or the gluteus minimus that we're working right now. Can actually then lead everything to tighten up and actually clamp down on the hamstrings. So we want to incorporate this work as well. Nice. Take another 5 breaths here. Try to relax into it. Notice if you're tensing up around your face or your shoulders. Perfect. And then I'm just going to lean back to grab that ball. And now I'm going to place it behind me. So you're going to place it right behind you. I'm going to come up for a second to show you on myself where we're heading. So we were right here in the gluteus minimus. We're going to take it about 3 inches at a diagonal towards the tailbone to come a little bit closer to that gluteus medius. But you're doing this from the floor. So kind of place it right behind the hip. I kind of like to roll the hip up and then lean back into it. Now we have a couple of adjustments here. That top foot now is going to come behind. And then I'm going to start to angle that shoulder slightly backwards, but not all the way to the ground. So I'm somewhere between parallel and the ground, and that's going to give me the most direct pressure right into that ball. I can take a little bit of movement here. That hip comes forward and back. Oh goodness, I'm definitely feeling this. So you can do this routine either to follow up an intense leg workout or lower body workout, or it might be a standalone recovery day workout, maybe the day after your workout, to help kind of reduce some of that soreness, get everything pliable, mobile again, get some blood flowing to the area. Nice. You might be surprised by what you find here. And I will say we're actually moving a little bit quickly through this myofascial work into the glutes. So if you're finding that this really does help you feel better, if it helps free up your hamstrings or sometimes even your low back pain can be exacerbated by tight glutes, then you're welcome and encouraged to try this myofascial work into the glutes for about 4 to 6 minutes in each spot or each location. We're doing 3 locations total, and then obviously times 2 sides, since we have 2 sides. And that can be a great therapeutic tool if you're kind of going more that route. But today I'm just kind of showing you a few techniques to get into both trigger point work as well as some flexibility, get those legs feeling good. Nice. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Cool. One more location here. We're going to turn onto our backs. So I'm going to pick the hips up and then place that ball just kind of into the broadest section of the left side of the seat. So I'm still steering clear of the tailbone. We don't want to go directly onto the spine. And then I have several actually techniques I can try here. So I can go side to side with the hips, just making sure I'm not rolling onto the tailbone. I can fan the knee out to the side like a little page of a book and then open it back up. That's going to kind of tack those tissue down a little bit more. Or I can leave that knee open to the side, and this sounds a little funny, but I'm going to clench the muscles under my seat and then melt into it a little bit more. This is called a progressive muscle relaxation technique. So clench and release, and it really works. I know it feels a little funny, but it really works. Nice. So any of those are options, but here's the deal. We're now in the gluteus maximus, so the biggest part of our seat, and your glutes are your biggest muscles in your body. So that means this little tiny ball is not going to cover the whole thing. So every now and then we want to pick the hips up, reposition that ball, and then just start to explore those techniques again. So we can, again, kind of moving around. You can also start to get a little deeper into the side as well. So we can kind of cover more territory in that gluteus medius and minimus. If that's where these muscles are talking to you, you're going to know pretty quickly where you need that work, especially if you're moving the ball around every little bit. Just kind of exploring any of those techniques. Take some nice deep breaths. That's going to help relax the tissue around it, and then also help release the toxins that we are mobilizing. Nice. Take a couple more breaths on the side. And then we're going to start that whole series over on the other side. So I'm going to flip around so you can see me. Again, we're starting with that gluteus minimus, so about 1.5 inches down on the hip and about a 1/2 inch back. Come to lie on our side. Now, if possible, I'm letting my head come down on the arm for this one. Leg is long, and the straighter that leg is, the more intense it's gonna be. That foot comes in front. Again, you can do this leaning against a wall if this is a little too ouchy for you. We don't wanna overdo, if you're new to this, we wanna keep the pain down to like maybe a 6 or 7 or 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Otherwise, we do risk either bruising or just gripping the other muscles around it, which can kind of defeat the purpose. A nice deep breath here. We're not really moving too much in this one. Try to melt into it. Notice if you're gripping around it. So good to free up these muscles. We've worked so hard to strengthen them, but it's in the recovery work that they actually are able to build back stronger. We can keep that range of motion, which allows us to train harder, more effectively. Nice, let's take 3 more breaths here, really melt into it. Cool, now I'm gonna roll off the front, grab that ball, and again, I'm going at about 3 inches diagonal towards the tailbone, so I kind of pick the hip up, roll back onto it, and now I move that foot behind me and I slightly take that shoulder back. That makes a big difference to have it more at an angle. That's gonna add the most weight or pressure into that ball. And now I slowly rock that hip back and forth if I want to, or you can just do a nice slow hold, making sure you're breathing no matter what you do. So oftentimes we're surprised by what we find here. We don't even notice how tight those muscles are or the fascia covering the muscles and permeating them. It's good to take a moment to listen to our bodies instead of just telling them what to do when we work out. Last couple of breaths here. And again, you're welcome to do this longer if you repeat this on your own. Cool, we're gonna come all the way onto our back now. Oops. And then pick the hips up. We're placing it under the broadest section of the seat. Our options, again, we have several techniques for movement patterns here. We can go side to side. We can fan the knee out and then pick it back up. I like that one. You can leave the knee out to the side and then you can clench and release. And you have to do that a few times. And then, of course, most important of all, you're picking that ball up, moving it around, and just start to explore now. So maybe it's further to the side or higher up, just avoiding the tailbone and spine. We don't want to ever be pressing directly in the bone. See where you're the tightest, spending a little bit more time there. Another 5 seconds. Doing great. Keep taking those big breaths. Great. Let's go ahead and set that down. Since we're on our backs already, we're going to grab that towel and then let's open it up once and then fold it lengthwise. So basically we're improvising a little yoga strap here. We're going to tuck it over the arch of the foot and then start to draw the shoulders down as much as they will so we're not rounding forward. And then give me a nice little pull of that leg towards your face. If you wanted to extend further, you could take that bottom leg long. It's up to you. Make sure that feels okay on the back if you do that. Think about kind of rolling that right hip a little bit further down towards the ground, even though you're pulling the foot in this way. It's going to make a big difference in where you feel that hamstring. Nice. Both sides of that towel are going to come into the right hand now if that towel is over the right foot. So same side hand and foot. We're going to release it open to the sides, a little stretch. But keep that left hip heavy down onto the ground. Notice if it rolls up, we've lost the benefit if that happens. So either send it a little further down or just lift the leg a little bit higher if that's not quite possible today. take it across the body. We're going to hand it to the opposite hand now. Now we do get a little stretch in the IT bend. So we didn't over roll it, but we do stretch it. The straighter you take the leg, the more stretch you're going to feel. So that's up to you. Mine usually tends to be a little tight here. Great, we're going to take it back up, and then we'll do that on the other side. So let's bend that knee. We'll reach this other foot into that towel, and kind of pulling. Drop the shoulders down, drop the elbows as low as they'll go. And then if you need a little bit more, that bottom leg can extend. Nice deep inhales, exhales. Send the left hip a little bit closer to the ground. You'll feel a lot more in the back of that hamstring. Still breathing. And let's send it over to the other side. That opposite arm can come out for balance, but keep that hip heavy. So really keep it down on the ground. So I even feel a little bit of a stretch along the front of the hip as I press that hip down, which is really good. And then we'll take it over to the other side. And you're welcome to take these poses longer if you do them on your own. I just wanted to be able to show you a range of things today, but any of these, you're going to get a little fuller benefit by holding a little bit longer. Making sure you keep that opposite shoulder on the ground. Release into that. We're going to turn over onto our bellies, coming into a pigeon pose next. We're going to keep that towel close by though. We're going to use that in a little while. So I'm going to press up into a plank position for just a second. Take that shin underneath you. The closer the heel is to the hip, the less intense it's going to be, the more it is up to that left wrist. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. No, can you start over? The closer the heel is to the opposite hip, the less intense it's going to be. For a little bit more, you can get that heel or ankle a little bit closer to that left wrist. Now we're going to sit up nice and tall, maybe a little flex in that foot to protect the knee. And then we can either stay tall here if you're feeling plenty already, or you can drop onto the forearms. If you're having a hard time keeping the hips level, so if that hip is kind of elevated and propped up, you could even roll up that towel and just kind of tuck it under the hip. That can feel nice, especially if you've been really active with those glutes. It might be a little on the tight side, so you can tuck that towel underneath if you like. So melting into it, stretching out piriformis. So we should be able to get a little deeper into the stretches because we did that trigger therapy work first. You can come all the way down if that feels nice. Try and keep the hips level. You can prop a second towel underneath if you need. Melting into that hip. Ourselves back up, and then we'll take that on the other side. So come back up to a plank. Take the left shin underneath. So it's across the body. I'm not sending the toes back behind me. It's across the body. And then I ease into it. If I want, I can take that towel, kind of roll it up under the hip to help support it. I can stay on long arms. I can come into forearms or all the way down to my forehead. Awesome. I'm going to come up. We have one more thing. We want to start to stretch into the quads. So I'm going to move my feet back behind me. I'm gonna take that towel again, if I had it rolled up. So again, I'm kind of just folding it lengthwise, so it's a little, almost like a little strap. I'm gonna loop it, and then I'm gonna kind of wrap it around. So I'm gonna kind of grab onto both sides. That didn't work out so well. Can you cut that part out, please? How to do this? Okay. So I'm gonna take it into a little loop. I'm gonna reach back behind me, kind of rolling onto my side to get there, and then thread that towel over the ankle. Then I come to the ground, reach for it with the opposite side, and then come onto the ground. Start to just pull that foot towards you. Now, to make it a lot more intense, I want you to think about pointing the knee actively towards the ground. So this isn't passive with the leg. I'm actually lengthening and trying to press that knee down and kick into the towel. So I'm getting a nice deep stretch here, a little active stretch. And if I wanted a little more, I could take both sides of the towel into that left hand and then prop myself up. But only if that feels okay on your wrist and shoulder. Otherwise, it's fine to stay back down. Perfect. And then we're gonna wiggle out of that. Let's roll over onto the side to loop the towel. Oops. Around the ankle. Holding it on either side, get a little pull, and then lengthen that knee away. Again, if you want a little more, both sides of the towel could come into that right hand, propping yourself up, but only if that doesn't hurt. If you do that, you might want to reverse the grip so the palm is facing up so that we don't tweak into the shoulder or wrist. So either here or on the ground, whatever you prefer. Remember, lengthening that kneecap away is going to make a big difference in how much you feel this stretch. And let's slowly release out of that. Go ahead and press it back up. And that's our recovery work for today. Again, you're welcome to use this to follow up your leg day workout, or you can use it on a recovery day. It's so good to build in those dedicated recovery day workouts. I'm so glad you joined me today. If this was helpful for you, would you give it a little thumbs up? That would be so great. You're welcome to subscribe. I bring new workout videos every week. If you're into working out lower body, my barre workouts especially are gonna give you a run for your money. Total muscular endurance. I encourage you to check out my barre workout video playlist. And if you're working out from home more these days, as many of us are, I would love to give you some of the pointers I found for creating an at-home workout space that feels good, that you actually want to work out in, because obviously motivating yourself to work out at home can sometimes be a little bit harder. So hopefully workout videos like these will help you. But also kind of sprucing up your space, kind of having the right details. There's a few key pieces of equipment that I like to have that are portable and collapsible, so in case you happen to be like me, where your workout space is also your family room and your office and all the things, that we can be a little bit strategic so we're not junking up our houses. So you can check that out. I have a special at-home fitness guide where I share some of my favorite workout equipment, but also just tips and tricks, kind of style boards, mood boards on Pinterest, and some fun little things like DIY yoga mat spray. So you can check that out. I will link to that in the description below, and I can't wait to work out with you again next week. Bye.